Hello, delicious friend, and welcome back to Fallen London. Woke up today to some surprising news. The former Lord Mayor of London. This morning's Gazette announces the departure of the Lord Mayor of London, the Viscountess of the Viric Jungle, whose term has ended. The article recapitulates the events of the election and the Viscountess' eventful term of office. The end, however, is a bit curious. By determination of the masters, the election of a replacement has been indefinitely suspended to prevent a further tragedy. Although we asked for clarification, the Tragedy Commission has declined to comment on what they meant by further. The Viscountess, who still enjoys rude health and good prospects, is reportedly taking an extended holiday. The Ministry of Public Decency has requested that the Gazette ask all citizens to report the Viscountess should they encounter her in London, as the masters wish to extend their felicitations to her in person. Turn the page. What's on the society pages? It's like, well, goodness, I am a little disappointed because I was actually excited because I knew we were getting close to election time and was kind of excited to show that off to y'all. But it seems the masters have other ideas. I'm sure something interesting will be coming along instead. The usual. Columns filled with trite gossip, outlandish headlines like, "Two-story townhouse disappears into sinkhole," the latest observations on the captivating princesses' comings and goings, obituaries for a few moderately notable figures, including the Gazette's latest captivating princess columnist. Events in London will continue to progress in time. Okay, so the mayor has disappeared. I wonder how that's going to affect the war in Parabola. Alright, also noticed something interesting about our whole melancholy curate and his sister pursuit. Here in Spite, there's a related card. Does the melancholy curate have a connection with St. Dunstan's? You probably won't pick up more than a few minor clues here, but hey, let's take a look. But perhaps it was worth the trip. Ask around about the curate. He's distinctive enough, at least he'll be recognized, if only you can convince the surly, sneering, gin-rattled parishioners to talk. Let's go for our nice clothes. He's been seen. The curate has been known to visit St. Dunstan's for midnight services. Curiously, you can't seem to find dates posted for these services. And your informant isn't keen to say any more. But there are strange stories told about St. Dunstan's. Visitors with hooded lanterns, coaches drawn by horses with muffled hooves, and the brasswork in the church is of exceptional quality. It shines as bright as the day it was made. And of course, if we all know, if you have really, really good brass, it's probably coming from hell. Okay, so that was it for now. We're going to pop on back over to Vale Garden. During the downtime, I'd advanced that pursuit enough that we should be able to get to the next step at least. But first, of course, we need to deal with all of our investigation cards. The rooftops urchins. So the urchins can help us with our case, and it's not luck-based, so it probably doesn't have a potential downside. Solving a case, ask your urchin contacts. They hear more than anyone knows up there in the dark. This is an effective way to make progress, unlike the criminals or the devils where it was risky. Okay. Word by word, the guttersnipe princeling has a remarkable memory. He, or she, repeats the whole conversation verbatim, down to the accents. Very interesting. A day at the races. Yeah, let's do this. We've done it before, though. Nice stat growth. Rob a library at the university. A shadowy revolutionary wants a book from the university. Where's the harm in that? Something has rattled them. So, the shadowy revolutionary wants the Fulminator's desk reference and almanac from the library of the Department of Infernal Rarefactions. Nothing could be simpler. You climb an ivied wall so well traversed that it almost has steps, and you are into the department. The library window is jemmied open, and you take your candle and examine the shelves of books. Something is wrong, though. There are porters walking the halls of the department, and you overhear a conversation between them about a recent visit from a consulting detective. You hear the excited bark of a dog, and soon there's a pack of porters after you. You give them the slip with no great effort, but you have no book for your client. Alas. A night for knife and candles. Seen it. Bring it on, y'all. Victory. Tracking the thief. A notorious dragsman has gone to ground in a huge, squalid rookery. Can you find him? The bold detective. The constables won't go in there, but perhaps you will. Or strike a deal with him. Perhaps he will turn and provide evidence on the other inhabitants of the rookery, if you can find him. Let's give that a shot. Tales from the rookery. It is a matter of little consequence to find the man. He readily agrees to provide evidence if he can be sure to escape both the rookery and New Newgate. He has seen intriguing things here. Sorrow spiders found in locked boxes. Quiet, careful spirifers at their trade. Rumors of the Vake. He also has a pleasing amount of usable evidence. Okay, quick rubbery men favor. They don't seem to be useful for investigations, it seems. Ghostwrite a tongue-tied lover's poetry. At your favorite cafe, you are approached by one of the bandaged dead of the tomb colonies. The gentleman's dusty old heart has quickened for a certain young lady, and he needs someone to put his affection into words. Take up your pen and begin composing. What greater cause is there than the cause of true love? Anyway, the wretched old corpse is loaded. Or interfere with the romance. Tomb colonists romancing rosy-cheeked vital maidens? Not if you have a say in the matter. You will write, certainly, but not what that corpse wants. No, I don't want to do that. There's no reason to be that mean for... Anyway. Perfect. What fluttering young heart could resist? Yes, the bandaged gentleman may be fusty. Yes, he may smell faintly of moths. But his regard for the young lady is genuine, providing ample inspiration for your work. When your client reads it, he is silent for a long time, then thanks you hoarsely before placing your payment of grave gold on the table before you. As he leaves, you wonder if that was a sudden moistness darkening the wrappings around his eyes. Can you really be that good? Oh, I definitely can. Got some Violet Evergarden's feels there. As silent as the grave. Heart's Cross Cemetery is a strange place. There's not many graveyards whose population shifts... Oh, we've seen this one before. Fresh fungi from her grave. It's morbid, but these lavish wreaths have a tidy resale value. Can you reach that particularly gorgeous one up there? Careful, that arborist looks slippery in this fog. I think we failed this one last time. Got it! You rearrange the mushrooms into a less funereal bouquet and sell it to an errant husband. He is pathetically grateful. Rats next door. Your neighbor's house is infested with rats. They might even be the survivors from your lodgings. Your neighbor asks for help. You have a vague recollection of promising assistance in a polite sort of way some time ago. We can deal with the rats as promised. A promise is a promise, even if it is half-remembered and involves armed vermin. Or exterminate the rats but charge a fee. You can hardly be expected to put yourself in danger out of the goodness of your heart. You promised your assistance. You never said it would be free of charge. Or leave her to it. You are thoroughly bored of murderous rats. In any case, how is this remotely your problem? I say let's charge a fee. Rat blood and gold. The promise has been kept. Your neighbor's wallpaper may never be the same again, and it will be weeks before she invites guests for dinner, but the rats are gone. She grumbles a little, but pays you as agreed. That one we don't have the stuff for. Taking matters into your own hands. You tire of being bandied about between the Duchess and the widow. It's time to poke your nose where it doesn't belong. Let's follow the Duchess' servant. She has employed a gangly youth from the surface. His naivete is charming and convenient. He is just running errands. A florist overcharges him for fresh flowers. He argues with a tailor about the correct length of trouser. A gossip monger sees you following the boy and assumes you have a crush. This will not do. Next time. An unwise ambush. You walk in one of the dank green-grey parks of fallen London. Mushrooms release clouds of spores underfoot. Whitish fungal fronds trail from half-dead trees. Suddenly your walk is enlivened by footpads. Teach the villains a lesson. You could turn and flee. One of them is wheezing like a bellows, consumption you'd guess, and the other has a club foot. But where's the fun in that? Or, actually, you really could turn and flee. They may not be the hardiest and stoutest criminals in fallen London, but there are two of them, and one has a very knobbly stick. Let's teach the villains a lesson. Your opponents lie groaning on the ground. You search their pockets, tip your hat to them, and stroll away. And we got some prisoners, honey. Okay. So, we have advanced our progress with the melancholy curate and his sister enough for the next step. Present your compliments to the curate and his sister. It's time to visit the melancholy curate and his enigmatic sister. Polish your smile. Knock on the door with a bunch of fresh fungus. I've heard so much about the work you and your brother have done here. In all honesty, I'm overcome with admiration. Pale and distracted. The curate's sister opens the door. She listens to what you have to say, but her attention is obviously elsewhere. She cuts you off to thank you and suggests you speak another time. The door closes rather abruptly. Oh, let's try again. A pleasant afternoon. You're welcomed inside. There is tea, cake, and piano music. The house is as you'd heard, considerable luxury for a mere curate. The melancholy curate is indeed gloomy, but full of erudite conversation, and burningly charismatic up close. His sister has much less to say for herself. You catch her watching you uncertainly over the rim of her teacup. But you do feel you're making progress. Okay, it'll take a few more visits to get ready for the next step, so we'll probably do that in the next episode. In the meantime, let's head on back towards Ladybones Road to see if we've picked up enough investigation for the next step here. We need to go to Moloch Street, that's right. Pursue your current case. A development, the disappearing heiress. Just like that, pieces fall into place. The Comtesse is missing, and so are the contents of her father's strongbox. Let's go for our morning wear. Revisit the lady's favorite haunts. You know enough about the Comtesse's taste to follow her trail. One of her friends will know something. Connected to the clay. A bespectacled young devil behind the counter at Dante's Grill saw the Comtesse last night. She had a companion, he says, a large gentleman with a muddy complexion, if you know what I mean. Are you going to order something, or do I have to fetch Milo? A clayman! This is worrying news. Claymen, especially the unfinished ones, can be dangerous. You hurry back to the Comte with the information. We are not far off from getting the next piece of evidence, so I'm going to go ahead and get that done right here, though I normally might not. Wait, was that something with... Did I see Virginia pop up? Ah, yes. Inquire with devils. I don't have the souls for it. That's fine. Okay. Disappearing heiress. Last time we revisited her haunts. This time we'll interrogate the manservant. Claymen are not renowned for their chattiness. The comp's manservant, 7 foot of cracked mud in a damp tuxedo, is taciturn even by their standards. Will he crumble under your questioning? The passion of a clayman. Was that the glint of a tear, or just a bit of quartz? In either case, it is clear that the manservant cares deeply for the missing Comtessa. You managed to coax 3 words from him. She is beneath. Beneath what? Beneath what? How is our investigation at? It's at 2. Well, let's go ahead and go for it. They saw you, though you'd seen them first. Failed, made some noise. Frequent key locations. 2 more progress, need to get it up to 10. Ask anyone with an interest. There we go. The case of the missing heiress. The Comtessa is missing, and so are the contents of her father's strongbox. I've read that so many times now. The trail leads down. To pursue the case further, you must gain access to the Clay Quarters. Okay, let's do that. The Clay Quarters are over here. That gate icon, though, means we can't travel there directly. When I click on it, we're going to be presented with a card where we may need to present a bribe or ID or something to get through. Here we go. The entrance to the Clay Quarters. Beneath London are a myriad of tunnels dug deep into the earth. The Claymen regularly close old entrances and carve out new ones. It is rare that the same route down can be used twice. Enter the Clay Quarters. Where do the Claymen go when they aren't working? Is it true they've dug a city for themselves under Ladybones Road? Okay, so this looks like it does involve either bribing or just looking for information, but we have everything we need, so that's okay. Digging deeper. The Clayman stares at you blankly, shifting his laden hod from one shoulder to the other. He's the one, though. When you produce a pouch of moon pearls, his impassivity disappears. The moon pearls vanish into a huge gray hand. He leads you hastily into a reeking alley behind a burnt-out public house. As he keeps a nervous watch, how singular to see a Clayman fidget, you heave open the doors to the beer cellar. A tunnel in the middle of the floor burrows deep under the city, its loamy walls crawling with softly luminous beetles. Here we are in the Clay Quarters. Let's see what there is to do here before we pursue the heiress. The Clay Quarters, a tangled maze of tunnels stretching for lightless miles beneath the city. Some say the constables abandoned murderers down here. Some say the Vake prowls the dripping corridors. But what the hell, you've got some string, you'll probably be fine. Assist at a mud surgery. A clay mine tunnels towards the river. Injured claymen line its passages, trying to patch their wounds with deposits dug from the walls. Delicate work. Their broad clay hands, so deft at hauling cargo, fumble at doctor's work. Your tools are a trowel, a brush, a bucket of sodden, freshly dug clay, and your own fingers. You spend the day restoring sagging loam faces and filling dents in earthy shoulders. They pay you in impurities panned from their vein of fresh clay, nuggets of gold, fragments of jade. Excellent. Assist a ragged-sleeved academic. His research has hit a clay wall of silence. Anthropology. You fill a notebook with observations. The way new Loamsprach words are constructed by setting old words on top of one another. the special status they award masterless claymen, somewhere between profits and bombs. Your employer, thrilled, pays you in moon pearls and the promise of a mention in a peer-reviewed journal of modest but respected circulation. Excellent. Decipher Loamsprach poetry. That sounds nice. Lengthy Loamsprach verses have begun to appear on walls throughout the quarter. The longer walls, anyway. Remember Polythreme. It's the words of the pirate poet, the renegade clay woman. She recalls her home, far off, living Polythreme, where the roads curse the feet that tread them, and we were divided and set apart. You know, maybe someday we'll visit Polythreme. It's a weird place. Track down a recidivist. He took refuge here after escaping custody. The constables aren't welcome down here, and they'll pay you for his return. I don't usually like working with the constables, but I want to see what it says at least. An imperfect disguise. He's smeared his face and clothes with mud to blend in. A tall man with a convenient cragginess to his demeanor. It's a good disguise, but claymen don't shiver in the tunnel's cold, or rub life back into stiffening fingers. You drag him out and into the waiting hands of the constables. They pay you a fair price. 50 Rosti gold, really? Not worth sending a guy to the coppers. Coax society secrets from the claymen. The things they must have heard, if only they realized they'd heard them. Mining for secrets. Lady V is religiously punctual about her Thursday appointment with the urbane physician. The invitees to Lord B's whilst nights. The invitees to Lord B's whist nights, I'm not even sure what that is, read like a peerage of the espionage profession. And then there's Lord F's attic room, the one that locks from the outside. And take a stroll through the quarter. I think we have about exhausted our options here. The options to either recruit claymen or emancipate them require more advancement than we have. Take a stroll through the quarter. Whistle, wander. Fabrication. You watch a clayman work a waist-high mound of clay with his slow hands. A lumpen head takes shape, then uneven shoulders. Stumpy arms. Mismatched legs separated by a simple groove. 2 lumps you would cautiously describe as feet. A dozen other claymen watch avidly. Are they making more? I thought they could only make more in Polythreme. Interesting. Quick opportunity card? Nah, that was not interesting enough right now. The case of the missing heiress. The Comtessa is missing, and so are the contents of her father's strongbox. The trail leads down. To pursue the case, you had to make your way here to the clay quarters. We have the options of navigate the labyrinth. You suspect that the missing Comtessa is somewhere in the clay quarters, far beneath Lady Bone's road, or disguise yourself. On the other hand, why skulk in the tunnels? Slap a bit of mud on your face and ask directions from the real claymen. Let's navigate the labyrinth. I think we can pull it off. What's that smell? You take a wrong turn and find yourself in fallen London's noisome sewers. The stench is quite remarkable. You escape via the first available manhole and squelch your way home. Oh, sad. That means we're going to have to re-bribe to get in. Or no, did it leave me in? It did. Good. Let's try that again. Useful stuff, string. After many hours, you reach a cavern lit with foxfire candles. The space is crammed with claymen. At its center, on a dais, stands an unfinished stone replica of the missing Comtessa. A sculptor shapes the planes of her face with muddy fingers. You are not particularly surprised to see it as the family manservant. Obviously the butler did it. Then you see the unfinished statue's eyes. Wide. Green. Human. Love and death in the clay quarters. To find the missing Comtessa, you must confront her abductor far beneath the city. The tunnels are unnaturally quiet as you descend. The clay manservant is waiting for you beside the statue of his missing mistress. She is becoming stone, he says in slow, clotted Loamsprach. She loved me. I stole from her father so that we might escape. Now we shall be stone together. The working is almost finished. She cannot be flesh again. You stare at the statue. A pair of frightened green eyes stare back at you. I mean, I really wish I could get some indication from her about what she wanted. Our options are smash the statue, you can't leave her like this, or leave her to her muddy paramour. Who are you to interfere with the course of true love? So, I don't think this Clayman is lying. I think she probably did love him. They probably did have something going on. She seems frightened, but I think she's frightened of me. I don't think she wants me to stop this. Yeah, I'm gonna leave her to her muddy paramour. Who are you to interfere with the course of true love? A trophy wife. Whatever your motives, you leave the Clayman to complete his infernal work. Perhaps the Comtesse really does love him. Perhaps she will enjoy her new life in the roots of the city. Your life still waits you above. Gained some nightmares, I'm not surprised. That was pretty fucked up. High-end mystery item. That's a really good payout for us not having actually brought her back. The Claymen now like me a lot more. Hopefully that'll make getting into the Clay Quarters easier in the future. And all the case qualities get purged. The burden of truth. The Comtesse's father sits with impeccable posture. An empty bottle of port rests on his desk. His empty strongbox still rests on the floor. A portrait of the Comtesse hangs over the mantel, barely visible in the light of the dying hearth. So, he says, looking past you, you must have encountered many distressing sights in your work. How do you live with what you know? Our options are the anchoress promise, all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. Those are recurring words we find a lot in Fallen London, by the way, and seems to be a pretty strong theme. In general, there is very little that you can do that's going to have permanent consequences. You know, even if you die, you come back. If any of your threats get too high, you know, if your nightmares gets too high, you go insane and spend some time in the that hospital with the manager that we visited, and so on and so forth. Most of the time, if you fail a check, you just try again. There are a few that break from that, but this all shall be well and all manner of things shall be well, that's kind of part of the game's whole narrative and themes, which is kind of interesting. It makes the whole world feel a bit like a sandbox where you can go ahead and take the risks because the bad consequences might happen, but you can always recover from them. Please note, if you ever get into this game yourself, that does not apply to seeking the name. Okay, the Implacables lesson. It's better to swallow a single hard truth than 1,000 soft lies. I agree with that. The Unconfined's delight. All truths are valuable. The more painful ones, especially so. Your own mental fortitude. Mysticism, rationalism, or radical nonsense won't help. You've only got yourself to rely on. I really like the Unconfined, so we're going to go with that. A harsh truth. Her father's features darken with impotent rage. He raises his chin. Is that true for the soulless epidemic? The abominable brass embassy? And you, unable to even bring back my... He shakes his head and gestures that you should leave. Okay. Okay. Your name is chiseled in Loamsprach. Excellent. Anything new pop up in here? I could recruit Clayman labor. Okay, this is kind of cool so that you can do this, and kind of silly. So two things you can do here in the Clay Quarters. You can recruit Clayman labor. Many who frequent the quarters dream of a change of employer. With some inventive paperwork, a few bribes, and the beginnings of a new identity, it can be arranged. So, sounds good. We can buy 2 Claymen. A placid Clay fellow. Until today, he worked for a mutton-chopped oligarch. His master is gobbling up spite tenements, converting them into factories crammed with machines and manned by Clay labor. Faced with a thundering, windowless future, the Clayman is betting on you being a better prospect. I guarantee that. I am not a big fan of slavery in general, so we're going to immediately emancipate a Clayman. Free him from your service. From everyone's service. Masterless. Obtaining the necessary licenses and certificates is exhausting, even by the Bazaar's Baroque standards of bureaucracy. It's almost as if the masters don't want Claymen freed. You cross the last T with a flamboyant stroke. You dot the final I hard enough to put a hole in the paper. With that, the Clayman has no master but himself. The poor sod's in the same boat as the rest of us now. Down in the Clay Quarters, his compatriots welcome him with reverential handshakes. Nor are you forgotten. They pile you with gifts, oddities unearthed from the tunnel walls, secrets told unwisely in their presence. We gained a London street sign, an unearthly fossil. That was a magnanimous action that lost us some ruthless, and we got a bunch of relics. Okay. So that was fun. Let's check this opportunity card. Making peace. We failed at this last time. Let's try again. 2 elderly retired army officers are determined to duel. Belligerent old warhorses, the duel is over a woman, it seems. Perhaps something can be done. Rose-scented paper. You fabricate a convincing letter from the woman to her 2 crusty suitors, explaining that she has found true love in the arms of another, and they are to forget her. As you expected, the duel was more to do with rivalry than love, and at least for the moment there is no prospect of bloodshed. Your friend is grateful and lets you have a look at some of the scandalous diaries of her uncle's youth. Excellent. Well, this has been an eventful day. We solved the mystery of the missing heiress, and was that ever a doozy? And we, bought and freed a Clayman. So, we're going to go ahead and tuck in for the night. Before we do, we're going to check for any lore we haven't read. Trees, so far underground. London's last remaining trees are under the care of the Department of Parks and Game, and the department vigorously denies the accusation that the trees are all dead and that their corpses remain lifelike only due to a virulent fungal infestation that has entirely colonized them, spreading its spores through the now rotten sap. The starveling cat, sharp as raven glass, blunt as a bat. What can you find at Watchmaker's Hill? A sinister fungal wilderness by the river. The Department of Menace Eradication subcontracts the adventurous to deal with the things that slither out of Bugsby's marshes. An observatory atop the hill employs only blind men. I think we've read that before. Why does the prison need so many candles? New Newgate Prison uses a vast number of candles. It is rumored that the prisoners who can arrange for candles to be delivered can gain privileges or even an early release. It's almost as if they eat the things. The Labyrinth of Tigers! The Labyrinth of Tigers is open under the patronage of the London Zoological Society to cautious visitors for educational purposes. Here you may see the devil apes of far Mandalay, the thing in the mirror, the Cantagaster's children, the gargantuan cave snake, the inhabitor of wolves, the hybrid fiend. NB. The management recommends that you arrange your exit well before closing time. Alright, well, it's been a fun day. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next time.